Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of NB Bassin. I am your host, Donald Patterson, coming to you from my rolling recording studio. Apparently it's become pretty much my habit to record this show while I'm working. Things went a little sideways today, so I'm going to be a little later getting this posted than I normally am, and I apologize for that, but nevertheless, here it comes. Before I continue, I once again have to thank all of those who have made my journey into the fishing industry possible and much more pleasant. Fish Bum Outfitters, Southern Yankee Baits, War Dog Lures, and Northern Michigan Outfitters, and most importantly, my wife and my son. Without the support of my family, I don't have anything in this sport. So what are we going to talk about this week? It's, as it is every week for me, I try to go unscripted. I try not to keep a big stack of notes in front of me. Just what's on my mind, what hopefully is on the mind of other anglers here in New Brunswick or across Canada or possibly across North America. I really don't have a huge tick or handle on exactly where my main demographic is, but hopefully I've got people from quite a few different locations that take the time to give us a listen. So we have talked in previous weeks about the growth of our sport. We've talked about, is the price of boats hurting? We've talked about the responsibility of anglers to their clubs, their associations to their tours. We've talked about families and the support, finding, if you're fishing a partnered series, finding a good partner, the support of your family that's necessary to do this and to do this properly. One thing we haven't touched on yet is the responsibility of your club or your tour or your series to you, the angler. What should your club be doing to improve the sport for you? From a Canadian point of view, right now, in my opinion, we have some unbelievable opportunities to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. We had Charles Sim in the Bassmaster Classic, only the second Canadian ever in the Bassmaster Classic. We have 4 outstanding anglers fishing in the FLW on a regular basis. Curtis Richardson, Chris and Corey Johnston. And Jeff, if you happen to hear this, I apologize. I'm not going to say your full name because I always say it wrong. So let's just say Gussie. And those of you who are following the fishing community, you all know who Gussie is. 3 of those 4 anglers this past week down on Hartwell, top 12 finishes, 2 in the top 10. As Canadians, how can we not try to capitalize on that? How do we not try and take advantage of that to promote our sport, to grow our sport? Why are we not reaching out to provincial tourism departments, cities and towns, the recreation departments, their tourism budgets, saying, look, this is bass fishing, this is what we are, this is what we do. And this is this is how high profile it can get. To examples of, and I know the Classic and the Forest Wood Cup are, the pinnacle of the sport, so to speak. But thousands of people, not just in attendance live, but I had a party, if you want to call it that. I had a handful of friends over to the house watching the Classic weigh-in, streaming it live online. There is a passion, there is a desire, but because we are in a hockey-centric nation, a lot of people don't think that we can push other sports, especially ones that are limited to just the summer or just the warm weather months here in Canada. Because tournament bass angling obviously doesn't take place on ice, it seems like our countries, our governments, like all our local politicians, from the town level right on up, are so focused. We need to wake them up. Our clubs and our associations, our tournament series need to wake our politicians up. How much money is spent every year into local economies? You know, when you're traveling for tournaments, gas, truck and boat, accommodations if you're doing overnighters, which we do a couple or 3 times a year just within New Brunswick. And New Brunswick is a small province. How much money goes into these local economies? And if the opportunity arises to bring something bigger and better, not necessarily better, I mean better obviously is a figurative term, and until something new is proven, it's not proven to be better, but the opportunity is there. If that opportunity arises to be fair to our sport, to our anglers, to our communities, shouldn't we pursue it? You know, shouldn't we go after something bigger? You know, if right now you're fishing in a club series that gives your anglers an opportunity to win $1,000, $2,000 per event, whatever the case may be, that's great. And I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. If I win $1,000 in a day, I'm happy. I'm very happy. But at the same time, if I can present those exact same people with the opportunity to win $10,000, shouldn't I at least give them the option? Should I, if I'm a part of an association, should my association sit back and say, well, you know, why tamper with what works? Well, yeah, that's great. Why tamper with what works? And after a period of time, what works will eventually stagnate, and then it no longer works. And then the question is it too late? Is the damage already done? Can the sport recover in that area? Can that association, can that club, can that tour recover? Tournament fishing is a business, and like any business, it has to evolve, which means our clubs and our associations have to evolve. So ask yourself, if you're a tournament angler, ask yourself, are they doing everything they can for my area? Ask them, ask yourself, is there something more that we should have here? Is there something more our fishery can support? And if the answer to that is yes, there's more that you think you should have, then don't just sit on your hands and let it rest. Go after it. Find a way to go after it. We all have to grow in this sport, and it doesn't matter if you've been around for 2 years or 22 years or 32 years. The sport evolves. Do you think that 69-year-old Rick Clunn could have won the Elite Series event on the St. John's River this past weekend if he hadn't evolved with the sport? If he was still running the same boat that he ran 30 years ago, with the same technology that he ran 30 years ago, the same rods, the same reels, the same baits, I'm not saying that it couldn't have been done, because obviously the equipment does not make the fisherman. But do you think that his odds of still being competitive at that level would have been as high if he hadn't evolved with the sport? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't things that he does that he still doesn't do the way he's been doing for 30, 40, 50 years. But at the same time, I guarantee he takes advantage of the tools offered to him. And why wouldn't he? It's part of the evolution of the sport. That would be like asking a goaltender, to go back to our hockey-centric Canadian way of thinking, asking a goaltender to go out and face a slap shot from today's players with today's sticks and the extra flex and power that puts into their shots, but ask a goalie to wear 40-year-old equipment. There's some out there that are crazy enough to do it. How long is his career going to last? Everything grows, everything evolves. So whether it's a small club or a bigger tour, they have a responsibility, and by they I mean, depending on the situation, the executive of your club. In our case here in New Brunswick, we have a board of directors for our association, being a non-profit. If you're in a bigger series, there are executive for that series. Your tournament directors and your media directors and everything else. Are they doing everything they can do for you as an angler? Are they giving you, as an angler, ample opportunity to showcase yourself, showcase your sponsors, and compete at the highest possible level? And if they're not, don't sit back and be satisfied with the status quo. If you see an opportunity, talk to somebody, rattle some chains. It may take some time. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. But if nobody expresses their interest, then nothing ever changes. You need new ideas. You need new personnel. You need new blood, so to speak. And when I say you need new blood, you don't just need new blood as in new teams, new boats, new members. That new blood has to work its way to the top, to the executives, to the boards of directors. That way their voices can be heard, their ideas can be expressed. And when somebody gives them an idea, take it and run with it. It may not work out. And if it's your idea, you have to be mature enough to realize that, yeah, maybe it was a great idea, but maybe the timing's not right. Because there are some cases where, if you're looking at bringing in a higher level event or something of that nature, something that has a whole lot more on the prize side. If you're going to go from a $1,000 event to a $10,000 event, that money's got to come from somewhere. 9 chances to 10 it's coming out of entry fees. So if all of a sudden I'm going from a $100 entry fee to a $500 entry fee, is the economy in my area going to sustain that? There's an unanswered or unfathomable number of questions. And no, you'll never answer them all sitting at home scratching your head saying, I wonder if this will work. You need to put feelers out there. You need to gauge interest within your community. Once you've gauged interest within your community, maybe expand a little bit and say, hey, are there people from the next province, the next state over, that would be interested in attending something like this? The more we grow, the more we have to open our minds. And yes, we may be opening the door to people that are going to come in with more experience, more knowledge, bigger budgets, whatever the case may be. But if what we're doing is truly for the benefit of the sport, that doesn't matter. Losing should not be, or potentially losing, should not even cross your mind if you're truly interested in growing the sport. Now, every day when you put your boat in the water and you go out to fish that tournament, come tournament day, all bets are off. But if you're going to work behind the scenes at promoting and growing our sport as part of a club, as part of an association, and I know I sound like a broken record saying these words over and over again, but if you're going to work behind the scenes, hand in hand with these organizations, or internally as part of these organizations, the mindset of, well, if we attract more anglers, I might lose. If that's your mindset, go home. Go home. You are not truly there for the benefit of the sport. If that is your mindset, the only thing going through your head, excuse me, the only thing going through your head is what benefits you as an angler individually. And I'm sorry, come tournament day, yes, by all means, that should be your mindset.